Good evening. This is chapter 9. Last week, Thursday, we did the Black Blockbuster chapter 8, where it's absolutely iconic. Pip meeting Miss Havisham and Miss Estella, who are obviously going to feature in a massive way. But this chapter today, chapter 9, I think offers a lot of interesting technical material that will help if you're interested in becoming a better writer. But let me not do any more preamble, let's just get right in. When I reached home, Mrs. Joe. I think we know this feeling really well, and Dickens has put words to it, of feeling like in relaying the experience is somehow damaged or misapprehended, and so we'd prefer not to say anything at all. I think it's it's the basis of the saying, you had to be there, for example. So I think Dickens has done, I think in writing, readers enjoy it when you slow down and unpack a universal feeling, as he has done here. Or at least I, as a reader, enjoy it. Consequently, I said in reticence. And I also think we're about to see the influence of the smart alecky Estella on little Pip. Well, boy. So for this section, it's important to know that 12 pence equal a shilling, and that back in the day, they didn't have the decimal system. 43 pence. I calculated 40 pence make 3 and 4 pence. So at that point we know that the answer to his original question, 43 pence, is 3 and 7 pence. So now we see Pip is really clever. He has deduced that Mr. Pumblechook, despite going up to Miss Havisham's house, has never seen Miss Havisham. And Pip has inferred this, and even though he can't answer the math question, now we understand the meaning of that math scene. The meaning of that math scene is, for Pumblechook, is trying to, dominate Pip by saying, I'm a grown-up, I'm smarter than you. But we see in this sort of dramatic irony, the reader realizes Pumblechook may know math, but Pip is smarter than him. And Pip has worked out this equation, which is a social equation, really slickly. So again, we see now the function of that math scene. Good, said Mr. Pumblechook. How to deal with him. And again, this is ironic because we know that's absolutely not true. Mr. Pumblechook is on the wrong track, and he doesn't know how to deal with Pip. And actually, as we'll see later, Joe is much, much better. Now, boy, what was harnessing? Really nice double meaning to wild thoughts. And it really, kind of brings a lot where that moment where you consider taking the lie too far but hold back is beautifully captured. So through this trickery, Pip has managed to get Mr. Pumblechook to concede that he's never seen Miss Havisham. We played with on this occasion. I think Dickens is almost using temporality to sort of help the reader if the reader is having some skepticism or some difficulty with their suspension of disbelief. He's using the temporality to say, look, I know it sounds unbelievable, but I'm just telling you what happened. The temporality being, we know this is fiction, but the conceit is Pip is remembering this as an older person writing about his childhood. Flags, echoed my sister. So he went. Poor Joe. But it becomes clear here that Mr. Pumblechook and Mrs. Joe are quite greedy, and they want something out of this for Pip and by extension for them. After Mr. Pumblechook night. Got someone in the chat. Thank you. See you in the future. And yeah, appreciate the support. Like I said, 1 person, 2 people, 0 people, 100 people. I'm committed to finishing this book, but it really is nice to share the night with someone. Remained by him until he had done for the night. Then I said something. Okay, so spoiler alert, but not really a spoiler because it's going to happen in this chapter. Pip is going to tell the truth to Joe. And I think this is what I mean. There's something technical or masterful to learn from Dickens in this chapter. So chapter 8 was emotionally very intense and dramaturgically very important. Meeting Miss Havisham and Miss Estella, being humiliated for class reasons by Estella. And there was a lot of emotional turmoil in Pip. And this was a reflective chapter where he has to reflect on the big happenings of the previous chapter. So I think this is always something that's really hard to do. You write this big action sequence or big important thing, but now you have to write the reflection. And by creating this one lie and now the truth, it's like Dickens has created a double telling. And through the double telling, you get more emotional truth. And I think it's such an interesting thing. And also, it does 2 things at once, which I think great novelists are always doing more than one thing. So it's giving us the processing of the emotional turmoil, and it's also deepening the characterization. Pip is forthcoming and honest with the caregiver with whom he has a strong, loving attachment, Joe, his sister's husband, who is, as we've seen in previous chapters, is a really, really outstanding male role model. And whereas Mr. Pumblechook, who's domineering, Pip withholds this information from. So I think it's a really masterful chapter. It comes on the heels of an iconic chapter, but there's actually a lot of richness for practitioners to take out of this one. Okay, sorry for the aside. Let me get back into it. Before the fire goes out, Joe, I should like to tell you something. Should you, Pip? Ow. And isn't that often the case? We're made to feel a certain way, we feel shame, and then the lies come out of that, especially in childhood. This was a case. So here, Joe is also admitting that he can't read, but in that act of vulnerability, he's bolstering Pip's confidence and belief in himself. And what he says is absolutely true. Even the works of Shakespeare, they come from learning the alphabet. There was some hope in this piece of wisdom, and it rather encouraged me. That's what I'm saying. Joe is a wonderful model of how a man should support a young boy. Through going crooked. Now that is real wisdom. If you can't get to be an uncommon through going straight, you'll never get to do it through going crooked. I think a lot of people could stand to listen to what Joe has to say here. So don't tell no more of a full day to me. as we can see from the extreme dilation of time. Like this one day has taken several chapters. For it made one memorable day. So this final line has a dual function. Firstly, getting the reader to literally think about their own life, but also telling us that this is very important, this whole episode, to the overall narrative and the overall narrative arc. And I do think that in this last couple of pages, the arcs are set up, right, for Pip to end up uncommon, but by doing it correctly, straightly, not crookedly. For Estella to see the value in people like Pip and Joe. We see the arcs sort of set up. And really, Joe, once again, has come out of these first 10 chapters as an outstanding character. And I think this, just on so many levels, this is such a good chapter. The technical we've already discussed, but I think the modeling of the parenting and the profundity of the simple observations. Janet Desaulniers would call it like God's rhetoric, when you're like saying things that are true about the world, like in the last paragraph, and you kind of need to earn, because people want to know the story. They don't want to know the writer's opinions on the world. So you need to earn those moments of God's rhetoric with just good, entertaining story. And, Dickens has really showed that in this chapter. So absolutely marvelous. Really enjoyed this one. 122 pages in. I'll call it for tonight. It was about an hour. Thank you for those of you who joined, and someone who wrote in the chat. I appreciate that. And yeah, for future listeners out there, hope you enjoyed this one. Bye-bye.